Hi there, welcome to episode 10, Material Parameters. For most of the materials, base color and roughness are the most important parameters you need to set up. At the moment, the background material is selected. Let's check these properties. In case you stored color information as point attributes, you could use this data as the base color. Otherwise, you can choose a color from the color editor. Click on the color swatch and select a color for the background material. A blue tone, for instance, and perhaps less saturated. Check the result. Now change the color to white. You can also set a texture image as a base color. To do this, go to the Textures tab, enable the Use Texture checkbox, and select a texture image, in the same way we did it for the raspberry material. For the background material, we don't need a texture image. Disable the Use Texture checkbox and return to the Surface tab. Now, the roughness parameter controls how shiny or dull is a surface. A value of 0 results in a smooth surface with perfectly sharp reflections. You can see the reflection of the lights on the background geometry. Save a snapshot. A value of 1 produces a completely dull surface. Save a snapshot and compare. Change the parameter to 0.8 for the background material. Now, let's try some changes in the milk material. Select the milk material and minimize the bottom pane to make more room. Return to the Surface tab. As a starting point, you could use the Principled Shader presets. Use the gear button to select a preset. Let's try plastic. Now milk chocolate. And finally gold. To restore the default values, press the gear button and select Revert to Factory Defaults. Let's manually work on the main important parameters, color and roughness. Change the base color to a blue tone. Now set it to white. Save a snapshot. Increase the roughness to 1. With 1, we have a dull material with no reflections. Save a snapshot. Now let's decrease the roughness to see the effect. With 0, we get a smooth and shiny surface. Save a snapshot and compare. Let's review and test other important parameters to control the look of materials. The metallic parameter is an easy way to give the shader a metallic appearance. With a value of 1, we get a more metallic appearance. Save a snapshot. It's important to note that roughness has a key role in the metallic look of materials. Increase the roughness to 0.2 to see the effect. Save a snapshot. Now increase it to 0.4. Save a snapshot. And finally, set the roughness to 0. Save another snapshot and compare. Restore the metallic parameter to 0. Save a snapshot. Let's check the next property. The transparency parameter let us create liquid materials and semi-transparent objects. Increase the value to 0.5 to see the effect. Save a snapshot. Now increase it to 1. Save a snapshot. Roughness also affects transparency. If you start to add roughness, you get the effect of frosted glass. Increase the roughness to 0.05. Save a snapshot. Now increase the roughness to 0.15. Save a snapshot and compare. Restore the roughness to 0. Another parameter that affects transparency is the IOR, or Index of Refraction. This parameter controls how the light rays are bent in the object. Try a value of 1. Now the object is invisible because the light is not bent. Start increasing the value to see the effect. This parameter depends on the physical properties of the material, and you can find values on the internet for different materials. For instance, the index of refraction for glass is 1.5. Set this value and check the result. For water is 1.33, and for milk the index of refraction is 1.35. Set this value and check the result. An important point with transparency objects is that this kind of material takes much longer to render. Now restore the transparency to 0 and add some roughness. 0.2 is okay. It's time to review subsurface scattering. With the subsurface parameter, you control how light penetrates the surface and scatters inside the object. This effect is useful to mimic translucent substances such as wax, skin, fruits, and milk. But it's important to know that this effect is very expensive in render time. To better evaluate this effect, let's increase the render quality. You can do this in the mantra node, but first save a snapshot and restore the bottom pane. Go to the Out context, then to the Rendering tab, and finally to the Sampling tab. The pixel samples is the main parameter to control the render quality. If you increase this value, you increase the render quality, but it also increases the render time. Increase both values to 6. Now, if you go to the Limits tab, you can see the SSS limit is set to 0, so no subsurface rays are propagated in the scene. Let's increase this value by at least 1. Okay, let's return to the material context and minimize the bottom pane. Save a snapshot with a camera icon and compare it to the previous image. Now let's add subsurface scattering. Let's start with a value of 1. In the camera icon, type sub 1.0 and save a snapshot. Change the subsurface parameter to 0.5. Type sub 0.5 and save a snapshot. Now decrease the parameter to 0.2. Type sub 0.2 and save a snapshot. Return the parameter to 0. Type sub 0.0, save a snapshot. Compare the results. Compare the subsurface scattering effect, the render times, and the noise. Let's review the next property. With the emission color parameter, you can emit light from the geometry. Increase the value to 0.1 and check the result. Save a snapshot. Increase it to 0.5. Save a snapshot and compare. You can see 0.5 for emission is too much, but 0.1 add a slight self-illumination. Restore the default black color. Okay, we have reviewed the more relevant surface parameters. Let's configure the material for the milk shader. For the base color, if you prefer, you could give it a slight yellowish tint, but I'm going to leave it white. The index of refraction is set to 1.35, which is correct for milk. For roughness, the value of 0.2 is okay. We don't need the metallic appearance, so 0 is correct for this parameter. In regards to transparency, we could use some transparency, but this is going to increase our render times, so we leave the value at 0. Now, we do need subsurface scattering. With higher subsurface values, we get a stronger translucent effect, but we also get more noise and longer render times. I'm going to set a value of 0.2 for the subsurface parameter. Save a snapshot and compare it with the previous image. A parameter we didn't see before is the subsurface distance. This parameter is also important because it defines the distance the light penetrates the object. Let's increase the value to 0.2. Save a snapshot and compare it with the previous image. You see the effect of increasing the subsurface distance. To get a stronger translucent effect, we could increase the transparency parameter, but it will also result in longer render times. Instead, we could try to fake the translucent effect by adding a little bit of emission. Let's try it. Increase the emission to 0.1. Save a snapshot. Perhaps it's too much. Decrease it to 0.04. Save a snapshot and compare. It's better. Now let's configure the Raspberry shader. Restore the bottom pane. Select the Raspberry material and minimize the bottom pane to have more room to work with. In the Texture tab, we already assigned a texture map. Go to the Surface tab. For the Raspberry, we also need Subsurface Scattering. We are only interested in the Raspberry, so we can press Shift and drag an area around the Raspberry. Take a snapshot. Now, increase the subsurface parameter to 0.2 for the subsurface parameter. Take a snapshot. Now increase it to 0.4. Take a snapshot and compare. I prefer the last result. Besides, we could also increase the distance. Increase it to 0.2. Take a snapshot and compare. I think it's better, so let's keep these settings. In the next video, we are going to make some final adjustments to the scene and then configure the mantra node to render the scene. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you soon in the next one.